what's on the table, what is concerning to me, is that we have a huge elephant in the room, and we, instead of saying how can we get this elephant out of the room, we're saying how can we go around him and create situations that could possibly benefit us in some kind of way. And we're saying that he's sucking up the air, not an impeachment probability. He's sucking up the air, and he's sucking up the faith of the people.
I wanted to follow up on Michelle's David versus Goliath, because the way I view this, I know you're, I'm about 3 or 4 years older than you. In 1968, you graduated from Yale with your PhD. In 1968, I was in jail in Kentucky and organizing 4 white people to come to Poor People's March in Washington. And I know you have a daughter who is a filmmaker, and you have a son that's a psychologist, and I was a psychologist. I wanted to look at this. I believe that you have an appointment with destiny. I believe you've gone to 1 million meetings and listened to 1 million people to put yourself in the position you're in today as a respected Southern representative from North Carolina, where we have 2 people on the Judiciary Committee in North Carolina, Mel Watt and Howard Coble. You have respect across the lines in North Carolina, from Walter Jones, Howard Coble, even some of our female Republicans. I know they respect you. And I believe that, I know John Conyers too, and I know that he feels the same way you do. And he has essentially thrown the gauntlet out. He threw it out to Rebecca and John when he's up there, is to say, until we get some Republicans and some Southern people involved in this movement, nothing's going to budge. Right now, it looks like Pelosi and Conyers and a bunch of liberal Northerners. And you have sacrificed, you've sacrificed your family and everything else. I have a sense of what it takes to do what you've been doing. And now you have the opportunity to begin changing your priorities around. I call it the Beltway problem up there. I don't see it exactly like some of my friends here do, because I used to be involved in some of that. And I know how hard you work, but you have to change the priorities. I see Mark Schultz over here taking pictures. I see Michelle. You remember when we had the Keith Edwards case here, and you remember when we had the housekeeper's case. And over and over again, the university would say, stall and stonewall for 2, 3, 4 years. That's why that thing dragged on so long, because they would never cooperate. They had this, as you know, kind of imperial attitude toward the black community here. And finally, we got Judge Battle, whose great-grandfather was the president of the university, to say to Paul Hardin and people at this university, you come up here and you say before me and before a jury why you're treating this woman this way or these housekeepers this way. And we got their attention finally. I want you to think about that as impeachment. But the problem is that they're stonewalling you, and they're making you look like fools. Robe, I saw Robe on TV yesterday. He's just laughing all the way to the bank, back to Texas. And only impeachment is the only legal alternative you have. I know you're not a lawyer, but you have this long view you have a moral view, and the way I view this is there's 3 dimensions: moral, psychological, and legal. And all 3 of them argue to do it. This is my answer to your question that you gave to Christian. And I'll start with psychological, because I'm sure you've seen how many soldiers are committing suicide. In North Carolina, 100 soldiers, Fort Bragg, they don't know what to do about it. Why is that? Because they've been betrayed, basically. There's people have lied to get us into this war, to get people to vote against gay marriage or against there's all this manipulation, and that cover is coming off, like Michelle talks about it. And when people realize that they acted in reliance upon a promise that has been broken, It is the most powerful human emotion there is, betrayal. The most powerful. Shakespeare wrote 7 plays about betrayal. 7 plays. Powerful. And that's what's going down. People feel betrayed. That's why young people here, like my good friend, they feel betrayed. And I think you understand that. And the only solution to betrayal is truth. Truth is the antidote to lies. So that's the psychological aspect. The the moral aspect. You know, and I know that the religious community in this country has been divided by Karl Rove and by Bush. They've done it very systematically. And you have a strong religious background and can really be a David in this thing and come out just like Michelle. I've been running, with Reverend Barber around the state, so I'm getting some of my old Christian upbringing back from my Presbyterian days. And I love it. It gives me this sense of the Old Testament, which is what we need here. We need the Old Testament. Say, no, we're not going to put up with this anymore. And then legally, I urge you, we were going to bring it in, but we weren't organized enough for you to look at this Bill Moyers show. Have you had a chance to see that one? We put it on the thing, and you can get it on your internet, where Bruce Fein, who wrote the articles of impeachment for Clinton.
I've read what Bruce Fein.
Yeah, right. And it was beautiful because they didn't talk partisan. And you cannot approach this as a Democrat. You have to approach this as a moral constitutionalist and a psychologist, a social psychologist, how to save our country from this sense of betrayal, this sense of alienation it's just spilling out. Kids killing each other on the streets. Lisa, I'm sure, is telling you about the gun violence is just out of whack, totally out of control. All of us have to focus on that. But we cannot focus on it until there's a moral leadership, a David leading this fight. And when I watched Bill Moyers, I wish I actually were here, my wife, because we were watching it together, and Bruce Fein gets up there and Bill Moyers says, well, you guys weren't born yesterday. You know how Congress works. Why do you think nobody's doing anything on impeachment? And they said, because we lack the moral conviction from 1 or 2 congressmen to come forward, and like John Quincy Adams did in Amistad, like Patrick Henry did, like Thomas Paine, like Sojourner Truth, like Rosa Parks, who said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take a moral position, whether it works or not. And I believe that that's what you could do. I think you have it. And I believe you were put in this place. Particularly in North Carolina. I think if you were to ask Howard Coble or Walter Jones to have breakfast with you on a regular basis, which is what they did with Nixon's impeachment, where they got Republicans to start meeting regularly, Peter Rodino encouraged that. If you were to, but start in North Carolina and be able to say, maybe they won't be there all the way at this time. But if you were to say, I'm thinking seriously about leading this thing in the South, I'm going to talk to my friend John Lewis, I'm going to talk to my friend Mel Watt. Of course they'll go along, but they would much rather have somebody like you lead it. They would. And that's what we really want you to do.